This tutorial looks at the active learning strategy of Muddiest Point. Muddiest Point is a classroom assessment technique that gives students opportunities to point out what they are most confused about and clearly explain what is muddy. Muddiest Point allows teachers to gain an understanding of student misconceptions. It is a simple technique which requires students to jot down the most difficult or confusing part of a lecture, reading, discussion, or class activity. The Muddiest Point technique provides information on what students find least clear or most confusing about a particular lesson or topic. Muddiest Point promotes higher order thinking skills as it requires the students to identify, understand, and articulate the key muddy or difficult points. It also promotes metacognitive skills as students reflect on their own learning. Instructors use feedback from the Muddiest Point to discover which points are most difficult for students to learn and guide their teaching decisions about which topics to reteach and how much time to spend on each topic. Muddiest Point is easy to implement into your classroom and can be done in a few steps. Step 1 is to determine what you want feedback on. Will you be asking students to provide feedback on the entire lesson or parts of the lesson, such as only the presentation, lecture, or activities? Step 2 is to reserve a few minutes at the end of class. Leave enough time to ask the question, to allow students to respond, and to collect the responses by the usual ending time. Step 3 is to decide how to collect feedback. Options include, but are not limited to, having students write down their answer on a blank sheet of their own paper, providing students with a piece of paper that already has a prompt on it, or asking students to respond to a prompt utilizing a learning management system such as Canvas. You can also do this anonymously by having students put their papers into a box placed somewhere in the classroom. Step 4 is to respond to student feedback. Responding to student feedback in a timely manner is important to addressing Muddiest Point misconceptions. It is recommended that you respond to feedback during the next class meeting or as soon as possible afterward. Processing responses can be done in a couple of ways. One is to quickly read through at least half of the responses, looking for common themes. And second is to sort responses into piles containing groups of related muddy points and a one catch-all pile made up of one-of-a-kind responses. There are a number of benefits for implementing the Muddiest Point into your classroom. One benefit is student reflection. Students often aren't formally asked to reflect on their learning progress or understanding of course material. Asking them to identify points of confusion or questions helps them become more reflective about learning, which has the potential to promote metacognition, self-efficacy, and self-directed learning. A second benefit is a more inclusive participation. Not all students feel comfortable speaking up, asking questions, or sharing when they're confused. Frequent low stakes or even anonymous opportunities to ask questions or share points of confusion means that you're more likely to get broader student participation. A third benefit of Muddiest Point is timely feedback. Waiting to gauge student understanding until after they've taken an exam or completed a project can sometimes mean that you don't discover misunderstandings until it's too late. Inviting student questions at regular intervals means that you can quickly identify points of confusion and respond more immediately. The Muddiest Point is not only quick, simple, and easy to administer, it also requires very little preparation. This is one of the few classroom assessment techniques you can successfully use on the spur of the moment. This technique can also give the instructor a snapshot diagnosis of what students are finding difficult to learn. As a result, the instructor can focus subsequent lessons and assignments much more accurately and effectively. This technique enables instructors to see the material through their students' eyes and reminds them of the range of intellectual and perceptual diversity present in each classroom. If students are regularly asked to identify the muddiest point, they will tend to pay more attention to how well they are understanding the relevant session or assignment because they expect to be asked about it. This expectancy can lead, on the simplest level, to more care in listening and learning. Because of the nature of the question, however, this technique also promotes introspection and self-assessment. This is a simple technique that students can easily internalize, making self-assessment a regular part of their own classroom and study routines.